So I don't know about you, but I don't have all the money in the world, which is why I use a Fuji X-T2 on vintage lenses. The Fuji's expensive, but the lenses are really cheap, and I do that because I'm really a fan of the vintage look. But the thing is that you see these videos on YouTube talking about the Metabones Speedbooster, which basically reduces the focal length that happens when you put an APS-C sensor on a full frame lens. You know, there's some reduction in the aperture when you do, you know, one of these really expensive adapters, and they're like $400. So what people like me do is they buy like one of these really cheap adapters, and like one of these like Futazis, whatever. And the difference between these than say one that you would get on like a Canon T3i is that these don't have any lens elements in them. And they're really cheap. You can get them for really cheap. For example, you know, this is a Canon FD to the Fuji mount. But recently I came across a video within last year summer about this adapter called a Pixaco, and there's a bunch of different names online. It's basically just a Japanese brand for this adapter that just keeps being rebranded as something else. And what's great about this adapter is that it's not $400, but it's not like really cheap like this, you know, cheap adapter that's like what, like 20 bucks? What's cool about the Pixaco or whatever is that it's like, I believe I bought mine for like 80 bucks. And for the amount of just awesomeness that this mount, that this adapter gives you compared to, you know, one of the cheap adapters and compared to the really expensive ones, I think this is a great middle ground that a lot of people don't know about, and I just want to make a video on it. So here's just some footage of it in action. So basically what happens is and for people who don't know, when you have a lens that was designed for a 35mm sensor or 35mm vintage camera, that's what a full frame sensor is based off of, basically based off of the film days. So when you have a camera like a Fuji, it's an APS-C sensor, which is smaller. What happens is the focal length of your lens gets extended. So basically, I forget the exact math, but think of it as like if you have like a 50mm lens, you basically have like what, I think it's like an 85 or like under 100, somewhere in there. I'm not very clear on the math. I was with my T3i, but I'm not very clear with the Fuji. And also when you're shooting 4K with the Fuji like I am right now, there's going to be a crop factor involved with that because of the 4K capabilities. So in this case with this adapter is that it's actually reducing the focal length back to its original focal length that the lens is. I haven't done really any testing on if it's exactly the same or not, being that I don't have a mirrorless camera that isn't APS-C. But from my just kind of eyeballing it, it's extremely close. And from my just kind of testing that I've done compared to one of these dumb adapters and the Pixaco, the aperture, because when you're adding one of these lenses to a mirrorless camera, along with the focal length, the aperture is also going to be multiplied. So really, you're not shooting, say, like f2.8, you know, you're shooting at like f4. So not only is it reducing the focal length of the lens back closer to its original focal length, it's also giving you your aperture back to the amount of light that you're actually receiving. It's probably the same thing with the focal length, where it's not exactly exact, but it's close enough. And so, you know, I just want to just kind of talk about, just do a simple video on it. So that's about it. I just wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit for people who might not know about this. I know that when I found out, I was extremely excited, and I got a really good price on mine. I'll put a link down below on where you can buy one. It can go under different names. I bought mine on eBay. So yeah, I think this is a great little alternative for people who don't want to spend that amount of money on a speed booster, but don't want to deal with, you know, the BS that comes with added focal length and, you know, really losing your smaller apertures for, you know, a 50mm lens you have that's like 1.4. You know, if you buy one of these lenses and you put it on your camera, you know, you're not going to get 1.4, you know, and that just really sucks. So I'm just trying to help you out as best I can. And, you know, just have an awesome day. And thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check out my Instagram if you haven't already. I put a lot of work into it, and, you know, that's why I'm making this YouTube channel. I need to promote myself a little bit, and if you're able to check out my work, and if you like it, awesome. If not, then whatever. That's totally cool. Anyway, thank you for your time. Take it easy.